Every day, we value our subcontractors who help us deliver the building and life safety services to our customers and community. Over the next several minutes, we hope to convey the safety standards and guidelines expected from all subcontractors. At Johnson Controls, health, safety and environment are more than policies, rather, they are values that are framed in our safety obligations. So, let's take a look at them right now. I care about my safety is the first obligation. And it involves taking personal ownership to awareness of the hazards throughout the scope of work, with a commitment to making safe choices to avoid injuries or damages. Next is I care about the safety of others, which means a commitment to speak up and look out for the safety of coworkers and others who may be in harm's way. The third safety obligation is I care about safety, where there is an openness to the observations and feedback from others, with a willingness to stop what I am doing to find a safer way. At Johnson Controls, our zero-harm vision is to foster a safe, comfortable, and sustainable world through focus on a no-blame safety culture, and a promotion of injury prevention, and a focus on key risk factors and drivers. We also promote a health and wellness vision, with a positive and healthy lifestyles and work-life balance goal. Environment focus is the other key area, as we strive to improve our impacts and footprint on the environment. Next, let's review the 11 zero-harm behaviors that we expect on all job sites. Wearing personal protective equipment is mandatory for all workers and shall meet the current JCI PPE policy and any job site PPE requirements. Daily inspection of PPE and the replacement of worn items is a best practice to prevent injuries. Working at heights requires proper training and safety practices such as always maintaining 3 points of contact while ascending and descending all types of ladders. Only non-conductive fiberglass ladders with a minimum rating of 1A or 300 pounds shall be used, and a daily visual inspection of ladders, lifts or scaffolding shall be conducted, with defective equipment locked and tagged out. Where fall protection equipment is necessary, a visual inspection of all items and a fall protection rescue plan shall be completed before work begins. The use of fall protection equipment may vary from site to site, so confirmation with your JCI representative is required. Lastly, identifying the zone of danger related to the elevated work area must be marked off using effective means to divert all foot or mechanical traffic away from the immediate area. Lifting and material handling can cause serious injuries, so careful assessment and planning is necessary to ensure the task is completed safely. If manual lifting is required, workers shall follow proper procedures such as knees bent, back straight, and don't overreach or carry a weight that is too heavy or awkward. For heavier loads, team lifting is recommended to avoid strain injuries. A quick review of your planned path of travel will help avoid trip hazards. If man lifts, forklifts, power lifting devices, or rigging is being used, it shall be conducted by trained and qualified personnel, and within the load limits of the equipment and site conditions. A visual inspection of all lifting devices and equipment is mandatory before each lift. Electrical work shall be conducted using approved electrical safety procedures, test equipment, tools, and the wearing of ARC-rated clothing and PPE as required by JCI policy. Johnson Controls requires that all equipment and systems be de-energized prior to performing any type of work on the equipment. The only 2 exceptions to this policy are when continuity of service is required, such as when troubleshooting and diagnostic testing, and when de-energizing would create additional hazards. Hot work involves a wide range of activities such as welding, burning, brazing, grinding, flame cutting, or anything else that generates excessive heat. Before work activity begins, obtain a completed and approved permit. Ensure that the permit covers measures to control fire and explosion risks, and ensure that everyone involved is competent and trained to do the work. Confined spaces require a serious look to confirm if an alternate approach can be used to avoid the need to enter. If entry is required, then a fully certified entry team shall complete the necessary permits, equipment checks, and air testing previous to any entry activity. Ongoing testing and communication shall be maintained, and steps taken to prevent unauthorized entry by others. Chemical exposure to yourself or others requires the knowledge of the chemical hazards, properties, and precautions. At job sites, this may include the chemicals used by others nearby. For this reason, all subcontractors shall submit a copy of all safety data sheets related to their scope of work and ensure that all chemicals on site are labeled and stored properly, and that proper PPE is worn to protect from any harmful exposures. Safe driving begins by avoiding distracted driving. Keep your mind and eyes on the task to stay safe and avoid a serious injury event. Safety also involves using the right vehicle for the task, and workers shall ensure all loads are secured and do not exceed the manufacturer's specifications. Wearing seat belts while operating the vehicle and maintaining proper speed based on road and weather conditions is mandatory. Lastly, workers shall not drive if under the influence of alcohol, cannabis, or other mind-altering substances. Traffic on site refers to when you are around vehicles operated by others. In these scenarios, workers must know and follow the on-site traffic plans and instructions. Do not put yourself in the line of a moving vehicle, and stay aware to the traffic around you and maintain a safe distance. Keeping your mind and eyes on the task will help you stay safe. Lockout tagout or LOTO before working on energized systems involves identifying all sources of hazardous energy, including electrical, pneumatic, mechanical, hydraulic, chemical, or thermal, and determining the method of isolation and discharge of the stored energy before work begins. This includes the testing to confirm the energy has been isolated and discharged and monitored regularly. As stated earlier in this video, Johnson Controls requires that all equipment and systems be de-energized prior to performing any type of work on the equipment. The only two exceptions to this policy are when continuity of service is required, such as when troubleshooting and diagnostic testing, and when de-energizing would create additional hazards. Lockout tagout saves lives, and all steps shall be followed to ensure effective and safe outcomes. Stopping work is your responsibility and safety right whenever you identify risks that you cannot mitigate. All workers shall assess the hazards and risks before work begins and throughout the day as tasks or conditions change. With hazards identified, developing a plan to either eliminate or control the hazard is necessary to avoid injuries. With a stop work event, you, the worker, shall remain at the job site and work with your supervisor to review the conditions and seek to find safe solutions so work may resume. Some examples where stop work is required would be exposure to asbestos and excessive crystalline silica dust. At JCI, we do not engage in the handling or removal of asbestos materials or permit the exposure of any workers or subcontractors to friable asbestos in the course of their work activities. Crystalline silica dust exposure shall be limited and managed using dust collection or dust control methods to prevent harm. Your worksite activities should comply with all federal, state, or provincial and local safety regulations. This includes the requirement to complete a daily hazard assessment and establish controls before the daily tasks begin. Additional hazard assessments shall be completed as site conditions or tasks change and be made available for review upon request. Your JCI representative will give instructions on how to submit hazard assessments and at what frequency. Weekly Tool Talk meetings shall be conducted each Monday, and a record of this submitted to JCI by Tuesday noon, and a job site inspection related to the specific job tasks shall be completed every Thursday and submitted by Friday noon. On short-duration work activities, these requirements may be waived. All safety equipment brought to site shall meet all federal, state, or provincial and local safety regulations and be inspected regularly. Substance abuse will not be tolerated at any job site, and possessing, using, or being under the influence of alcohol, cannabis, or other mind-altering substances will be grounds for immediate and permanent removal from the job site. All injuries, illnesses, or workplace accidents or damages shall be reported to Johnson Controls regardless of the severity. A call shall be placed immediately to your JCI representative, with an investigation report submitted within 24 hours. Safety rules are established to protect all persons who are on site. Failure to abide by the rules could place yourself, coworkers, and others at risk. The JCI safety rules shall be followed, along with any site-specific rules. And, in all cases, the most stringent rules shall take precedence. Your clear understanding of the JCI rules is important and will require your review and acknowledgement at this orientation session. Johnson Controls strictly enforces rules with the three-step discipline approach. This consists of a written warning, a suspension from site, and lastly, the immediate and permanent dismissal from site. Zero tolerance and the immediate dismissal from site applies for IDLH or immediate danger to life and health activities. Some examples of IDLH activities are the improper use of a ladder, such as the straddling or standing on prohibited levels or steps on the ladder, or leaning it against a wall when it is not designed for that use. Not being fit for work due to influence of alcohol, cannabis, or other mind-altering substances. Failing to wear fall protection equipment when it is required, or the misuse of the equipment, such as failing to tie off properly when in use. Failure to lock out hazardous energy, or failure to wear arc flash PPE when required. When an IDLH critical hazard task is identified and considered, a job hazard analysis shall be submitted for review by Johnson Controls before the task can be started. Additional safety permits shall be completed if requested by JCI or required by the job site. All hand and power tools shall be in good working order, with all guards and housings functionally intact. Tools and electrical cords must be inspected regularly and managed properly to avoid damages or creating trip hazards in the job work area. Worn or defective tools and equipment shall be tagged out for repair or replacement. Worker competency is expected from our subcontractor workforce, and some specialized work tasks require specific regulatory training such as fall protection, confined space, crane hoisting, and rigging, to name a few. Workers shall have proof of training available for review upon request. Good housekeeping practices are everyone's responsibility and shall have daily focus. Johnson Controls will issue a stop work order anytime site housekeeping has degraded and be lifted when site conditions have improved. When arriving at all job sites, your first steps shall include becoming familiar with the site muster point, evacuation plans, site first aid, and the fire extinguisher locations. In some cases, this information may be provided by your JCI contact previous to your arrival on site. If your work crew consists of more than one person, a safety representative shall be identified and noted on the daily hazard assessment document. If no coworkers are on site, then by default, the single worker shall be the safety representative. If you have any questions arising from this orientation, feel free to speak up so we can address your questions with a clear response. A short quiz shall be conducted with a sign-off to record your participation and understanding of this orientation video. Thank you for your commitment to being safe, every job and every day.